Hi everyone, and welcome to our pre-recorded lesson for GL assessment, and this is the beginning of block 6. You're hopefully in year 5 if you're watching this video, and this is going to go through the content of lesson 1. So let's have a little look at the slides. So this is the book that we're actually going to be working from within this lesson. This is a 11 plus verbal reasoning book, and it's called Rapid Tests 5. And we're going to be looking very much at things like time management, but also focusing on building up your knowledge further of those verbal reasoning question types. My name is Chris Pearce, and I'm looking forward to going through this video with you. We will have Billy the bookworm in the bottom corner, so it's easier for you to follow through. So we've got a few slides to look at before we jump into the lesson. These are the books that you should have received, so we're actually going to be focusing in this lesson on this verbal reasoning book. You should have 2 sets of practice papers from GL assessment, also a LET non-verbal reasoning book, and hopefully also a similar book to the one we're using in verbal for non-verbal reasoning, and that's also Rapid Test 5, Schofield and Sims. So what's the focus going to be during this particular block? Well, it is the last block of this academic year. We are doing lots of things over the summer, but this is going to be the real focus in this block is going to be on exam technique and developing your time management strategies as well. We're going to obviously add in some time-saving tips throughout the lessons. You're going to cover off all 4 subjects, and we're going to alternate between verbal, non-verbal, maths and English. You'll also receive some very authentic GL practice papers to use, so we will be using the multiple choice sheets on occasions as well. And we're also going to be looking at the Buckinghamshire familiarisation booklet to guide us through all of the different parts that we need to cover off in this particular block. There'll be 8 sessions, and so therefore there'll be 16 lessons that we'll go through. 2 lessons, of course, per live session. But these videos, of course, you can watch through, and hopefully, if you aren't able to attend a live lesson, this will really help you. So let's have a look at the lesson plan for today. As I say, we are going to be using the Schofield and Sims book, and we're going to be looking at all these different types of questions. We've got synonyms, missing 3-letter words, number sequences, sorting out information, missing numbers, antonyms, match the codes, and true statements. So we've got a lot of different types of question types to get through. So let's begin and have a little look at Section 1, Test 1, page 4. And the reason for the clock is so you can time yourselves. Now, in actual fact, with these, they do allow 10 minutes, which we think is a little bit longer than what you would need. So maybe just shave off a minute or 2 each time. So maybe start with 10, then maybe the next test you could do 9, 8, 7, and work your way down. And I think maybe getting down to sort of 5 minutes is more realistic. So let's have a little look at the first test. So these are the questions that you've got. This test has sort of been snipped in half. So you've got the first 5 are going to be synonyms. So let's go down through and double check them. So hopefully you've done this test already. So you've hopefully paused the video, had a go through the questions, and now we can go through and see what the answers were. So number 1, jovial and jolly. Those are synonyms. Then we've got lazy and idle. Often putting these words in the same sentence will help. Question 3, permit and allow. So often what I'll do is I'll transfer the words over one at a time. So you go permit, allow, yeah, that sounds right, but we'll just double check. Permit, travel, no. Permit, perform, no. Ticket, allow. Ticket, travel, ticket, perform, no. Pocket, allow, no. Pocket, travel, pocket, perform. So you're testing sort of 9 combinations there. So we've got number 4, and the synonyms here are adhere. That means to stick to. So if you adhere to the rules, you stick to them. I often think of adhesive as in adhesive glue, so sticking. 5, animosity and hatred. So animosity, not liking something or someone, showing hatred. In the next set of questions, we've got the following sentences. The word in capitals has 3 letters missing, and those 3 letters spell a word. Write the 3-letter word on the line. So if we look at the first one, Peter tore his shirt on a thorny something bush. And what sort of bush is it? Well, it's a bramble bush. So if we actually spell out the word bramble, So this is not only is this about knowing lots of words, but it's also being a good speller as well. So if I spell out the word bramble, cross out the letters that it gave me a B, an L and an E, and these letters will always be consecutive, the three-letter word. So the three-letter word that we need is ram, which is a male sheep. Question 7, Molly was sitting behind a tall something at the cinema. So the word we're looking here for is person. Now this might be one that you don't need to write out the whole word, because we know that the three-letter word that comes at the end is sun. Question 8, we've got the something of the river is high up in the mountains. And the word we're looking for here, when a river at the start of a river, is called a source. Not to be confused, of course, with the ketchup sauce, which has got a different spelling. But this homophone, if we cross out the letters it gave us, S, C and E, we get the three-letter word hour. It's all about using that sentence to give you a clue on the word and then spelling it out if you need to. They something uncontrollably at the puppet show. What we're looking at here, they giggled. So if we were to spell giggled, so just always about finding a bit of space, just making sure that you can easily work out the answer. So if I spell giggled, we cross out the letters I was given a G, an I, a G and a G, and I'm left with the three-letter word lead. I know in that situation I actually wrote out in small case, but it is better to sort of write out in capitals really, just to help you. She something her friends dressed for the party, and this word is borrowed, and the three-letter word that is missing here is row. So if we were to spell borrowed, B-O-R-R-O-W-E-D, and then crossing out the letters, so we've got the B, the O and the first R, and then if we cross out the ED, row was the three-letter missing word. So hopefully you've done well on that particular section, and let's go down and have a look at the next questions. Now the next ones from 11 to 14 are actually number sequences. So if we look at question 11, what we're doing here is we're adding 25 each time. So we get 125. You can write, of course, the difference between the numbers, and hopefully you'll then identify what the pattern is in that particular sequence. If it doesn't reveal a pattern, then maybe it's a special number sequence. Question 12, we're actually removing 8 each time. So if we get to 71, and obviously this is decreasing in size, and we take 8 away, we get 73. We'll just double check that that's still what's happening. Yeah, taking 8 away each time. Question 13, we're doubling the number and then adding 1. So if we do 12, doubled is 24, and then we get 20, add 1 to get 25. Double 25 is 50, add 1 is 51. 51 doubled is 102, add 1 is 103. So if we get 103 and double it, we get 206, add 1. We're going to need to double 207, which will give us 414, add 1, and we get 415. And sometimes it is worth thinking about 2 operations that you might need to deploy on these number sequences. Now, number 14 is what we call an alternate sequence. So we're missing a number. This, of course, is going up in 4s. So our answer will be 16. Just so you can see, though, it also contains multiples of 7. So 7, 14, 21. If we were working out the next number, we're not. But if we were, it would be 28. So, question 15, we've got Jamil set off with his pet dog, Groover, at 6:15 p.m. The walk to the park took them 16 minutes. They spent 18 minutes playing at the park, but then Groover ran off. Jamil spent 10 minutes looking for Groover. When he found Groover, it was time to go home, so they jogged home, taking only 9 minutes to get there. What time did Jamil arrive back home? Now, if we actually add on the time that was taken, so if we were to add up all the times, so I just underline them so you can see what we were actually adding together. So those were all the times we needed to add up, and we actually get 53 minutes in total, and we then need to add it to 6:15. There's a couple of different ways here of approaching this. If we were to add 45 minutes, that of course would take us to 7 o'clock. and then the difference between 45 and 53 is 8. So the answer to this question is 708. Now we'd also give you the mark if you wrote it in the 24-hour clock, so that would be 1908, or even if you wrote it in words and you wrote 8 minutes past 7, we'd also give you the mark there. Question 16. Lucy went to visit her gran. She set off at 1:30 p.m. and caught the 1:46 p.m. bus. The bus arrived at Granville at 2:15 p.m, where Lucy had a 10-minute walk for the next bus. She finally arrived at her gran's house 20 minutes later. How long was her journey altogether? Now, in actual fact, the time that she caught the bus is slightly irrelevant because the bus arrived at 2:15. So we can just do the difference between 1:30 to 2:15, which is 45. She then had a 10-minute wait, and then she got to her gran 20 minutes later. So if we add all of that up, the total journey was 1 hour, so that's 60 minutes of course, and 15 minutes. So well done if you got that right. Quite a lot of information there to decipher. Hopefully you did well on those word problems at the end. Now that's actually the end of that first test, so you can record down your score out of 16 down the bottom. You can also put how long it took you, so if that one was a 9-minute test, see if you did do it in 9 minutes, and was your target met, so you can write word met, or you can even just give it a tick if you managed to do that. Right, let's move on to section 1, test 2, and this is in page 5 in your Schofield and Sims book. Let's go down through and see how you fared with these. So the first ones we're looking at are balanced equations. So with balanced equations, you need to make sure we've got the same on both sides. So this is 70 divided by 10, and we therefore need to add a 2. So that's going to make 7 as well. Now, just be careful on these that, of course, you are doing the questions in order, so you are working down. So 1 down to 2. We've got 2 on that side. We're going to make sure we make 2 on that side by adding 1 and 1. Question 3, 110 divided by 10. So we know what we're going to need to have on that side is going to be 11. And then if we take away an amount over here to make 11, we are going to take 8 away. And then that will give us the same on both sides. Question 4, 87 take away 84 gives us 3. And then what do we need to take away from 96 to make 3? Well, it'll be 93. Question 5, 81 divided by 9, about knowing your times tables, is 9. 36 then divided by 4 gives us 9 as well. So the answer was 4. Next set of questions, we need to concentrate on opposite in meaning. So that's taking one word from one set of brackets and then one word from the other. So in question 6, we've got defend and attack. Those are opposites. We've got humble, proud, contract, so getting smaller, expand, getting bigger, curse and bless are antonyms. And then we've got private and public. Hopefully you've done really well on those. As you've gone down through, obviously suggest that once you've done this test, you give yourselves the marks, put down how many you've got right. So 5 there, we've got 5 there. Going on to the second part of this test. So the first one, we've actually got to match the number codes to the words. We have done some of these previously. Interestingly, on this particular question, you'll notice that some of the words have 5 letters, some of them have 4. So I think maybe if we focus on the first part of the matching here, so we've got to match these words with the code. If we look at the 2 1s there, then I know that this word is going to be door. And there's only one other 4-letter word, which is the word word. So we're going to put word here. Now, we don't actually, sometimes with these kind of questions, you might have a word left over, but we're actually using all the words here. And I actually can use what I've got. So if we put a D there, then I know that this word is going to be draft. Trying to make your letters reasonably small so they do line up there. And then we've got the word after. And once you've actually done all of this, then it should be quite simple then to actually work the questions out, because we can use what we've got. So what's the code for raft? It's 3862. I'm just using the end of draft there. Then we've got road, so we've got 3, O is 1, A is 8, and the D is 9, so it's 3189. And then if we look at 13, we've got treat, so we've got 2. Then the R will be the 3, the E will be the 5, the A will be the 8, and the T will be the 2 again. So 23582. And then what word does 13953 spell? Well, the 1 is an O, the 3 is an R, the 9 is a D, the 5 is an E, and the 3 is an R again. So we've got order. So I think with that one, certainly that was quite easy, hopefully, to match those up. If you do find those difficult, there are more, of course, within your Let's book that you used in the last block, if you do want to practice more of those. Circle the letter next to the true statement for each question. So let's have a look at 15. We've got table mats help to keep the heat off a table. Cork is a material which absorbs a lot of heat. So if the above statements are true, which of the following statements must also be true? Table mats keep the table tidy. Well, there's no mention of that within the sentences there. Hot drinks can be spilled easily. No. People put their plates on table mats. Yes, they probably do, but there's no sort of mention of that within the text. Remember, we've got to stick to what we know. And then cork is a good material for table mats, and that's actually the true statement. Let's have a look at question 16. I've got another true statement question here. So we need to be able to read the information and make sure we really understand what's going on. Mrs. White must catch the 8:30 a.m. train to arrive at work on time. Mrs. White caught the 8:45 a.m. train to work on Monday. So that really implies that she's going to be late. Mrs. White overslept? No, it doesn't talk about that. Mrs. White was late for work? Yes, well, because to be on time, she needs to get the 8:30 a.m. train, but she ended up getting the 8:45. But I'll just check the other options. Mrs. White left home 10 minutes late. Mrs. White likes trains. So the answer was B. Moving on now to the last test that you need to work through, and certainly what we would recommend here is maybe again taking off a minute. So these are usually 10-minute tests, so maybe now you could have a go at maybe making this one either, I don't know, an 8 or a 7-minute test, just to see whether you can get through the questions quickly. So hopefully you've got the right page. This is page 6, and you're going to need to work through section 1. Now it does actually say there test 2, but I'm actually going to change that because you've moved on now to test 3. Right, let's have a little look at this particular one. So to start with, we've got some analogies. So let's work down through these analogies and make sure that we know what all of the answers are. With analogies, what is really, really important is that relationship needs to be the same. So let's go down through these. Let's choose a colour. So in the example, we've got mother is to daughter as father is to son. So we're only choosing one word from each group. That completes the sentence or the analogy in the best way. So number 1, we've got jump is to leap as run is to sprint. So those are very much sort of synonyms. Doe, which is actually a female deer. And then we've got a buck. So doe is to buck. And then we've got nanny is to Billy. Now, you might be a little bit confused by nanny. In this instance, it's actually talking about a goat. So a female goat is referred to as a nanny, and a male goat is referred to as the Billy. And then we've got the doe as the female animal, and the buck as the male deer. So, judge is to courtroom. That's where you would usually find a judge. As a surgeon, you would see them in the theatre room. Question 4, we've got lorry is to diesel, so that's kind of the fuel that it needs, and then a torch requires a battery. Mimic, which means to copy or imitate, so these look like it's going to be synonyms here, and then believable, it's credible. So hopefully you've done well with those analogies. Let's now have a little look at the We've got letter sums here. I know certainly a lot of our students really like these. We're given a letter sum and we're going to record the answer down as a letter. That's really important. We record it down as a letter, but we've obviously got to work out the sum first. So let's have a look at question 6. So we've got B times C. So it's always quite a good idea just to write the numbers above or underneath, depending on what room you've got. The answer to that one is 42, but we'd actually record it down, of course, as A, because A equals 42. The next one, we need to do what's in brackets first. So C is 21, B is 17. So if we get those two numbers, take them away, we're then going to multiply it by 2. So we're going to get 4 times 2 is 8, and then that gives us D. Question 8, we've got E plus B take away D. So we're going to do 18, add rather, just make sure we look at the operations, add 45, and then take away 38. And if you work that out, you actually get 25 as your answer, but that would be A. So certainly worth using a bit of space in your book if you need to do calculations like that. So what I would certainly do if I was laying that out, I'd do 45, add 18. So you might be able to do that in your head, but if not, then you can just quickly add those up. So you get 63 if you add those together. And then we're going to take away 38. So you can then do your subtraction. And if you did that, you're going to get 25. So hopefully you were clear with that. And if we go and have a look then at question 9. Question 9 here, we've got C times A take away E. So the C represents a 4. The A represents a 16, so 4 16s. You might be able to do that in your head. And then we've got to take away 15. So in actual fact, if you do 4 times 16 is 64. And then we're going to take away 15. And the answer then will be B. And we get 49. And the last question on this particular bit is question 10. And we've got 3A, so we need to do 3 zeros, which of course is 0. Then we're going to add 89, and then we're going to take away 71, and we get 18. So actually the first part of that, don't really need to use that, because obviously 3 times 0 is 0. So hopefully you've got 18 as your answer, and of course then you need to find out which letter does 18 represent, and it represents E. So the answer to the last one is E. Moving on now to the last part of our lesson 1. We're now going to be looking at something called double letter series. Interestingly, on the first one, and this is something actually we need to revise and make sure we know, these are mirrored letters. So we've got A and Z, B, Y, C, X, D, W. So therefore we need to find the next mirrored letter, which will be EV. So it's certainly worth knowing your mirrored letters. You can work it out by plussing 1, taking away 1. The next one we've got R and C, because what you're doing on this particular one is you're going to be taking 1 away from the first letter, and then you're going to be adding 1 on the second. Question 13, we've got PX. And this is slightly unusual because we're used to seeing it at the end here, but it's all about using the letters that you're given here. So it's going to be +1, +2, +3, +4 on the first letter, and the second letter is just adding 1 on each time. And then we've got question 14, is BT. Now this is quite a long sequence. So the first letter is +3, taking away 1, and then the second letter is -3 + 1. So I hope you're able to work out the jumps there and use your alphabet wisely when you're counting between the letters. So hopefully you're able to get EV, RC, PX, and then BT. Let's have a look at the next word problems that we've got here. There are 3 people in the waiting room at a doctor's surgery. Susie's appointment is at 10:15. So I've just written 10:15 down there. Callum's appointment is half an hour later. So what you might like to do is just do a little code here so we know who we're dealing with. So Callum's appointment is half an hour later. So in actual fact, Callum's will be at 10:45. Actually, Mick's comes halfway. Mick's appointment is halfway between Susie's appointment and Callum's, so that will mean that Mick's will be at 10:30 because that's halfway between 10:15 and 10:45. But if the doctor is running 10 minutes late to see each patient, what time will he see Mick? Well, because Mick was at 10:30, if we add 10 minutes on, we of course get 10:40. And question 16. Yelena sends 10 text messages per day to her friends. If each message costs 8p to send, how much will it cost her to send text messages every day for 1 week? So here's the calculation. We're going to do 10 times 7. Of course, there's 7 days in the week. So that means that we get 70 altogether in terms of the number of text messages. But then we need to multiply that by 8 because there's obviously each text costs 8p. So we're going to do 8 times 0, 0, 8 times 7 is 56. Now we're going to convert that because that's currently in pence. We're going to convert that into pounds. So the answer is £5 and 60p. So again, put your score out of 16 down the bottom. How long did it take you? You might have done that one in maybe 8 minutes or so. And did you meet your target? Now, we will actually be using various different quizzes during this particular block. I'm not going to do this quiz with you now, but we are going to be using different devices for you to answer them a bit more interactively. And we'll talk to you about that as we go along through the block. So we'd ask you to do week 1's homework for verbal reasoning. So these are the tests. You need to do the test 4, 5 and 6, and there'll be a video that will go through all the answers for you on that. And also would ask you please to learn your week 1 spellings ready for week 2. So lesson 3 we'll be testing you on those. Well done. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you found it useful, and of course we look forward to seeing you in your live lessons. But if you are not able to make it, hopefully you found that video useful going through all of the answers for lesson 1. Thanks very much. Bye bye.